Why would I be muted? I unmuted myself. Oh, well, there you go. Sorry about that, guys. Righto. For those of you on YouTube and who are waiting to get into the meeting, and there is a link for that, of course, underneath us in the YouTube viewer thing. The passcode for today is this one. You will need a passcode to get in. And of course, the reason for that is yesterday's debacle where we had all number of idiots trolling us and shouting expletives and all sorts of different things. So we've tried to fix that up by only giving a passcode to you guys, and you should be able to get into the meeting in that fashion. The passcode is 837290. I'll say it again, 837290. That is the passcode to get into the Zoom meeting, the link for which is below. And I think probably, actually, I'm not watching YouTube. I should be. My apologies for that. Angel will tell me if somebody asked a question in there anyway. What was I about to say? Got no idea. Gone out the window very quickly. If you are not coming into the meeting, that's fine. You can still watch this on YouTube. But if you are in the meeting, there is a protocol to ask questions now because of yesterday's debacle, and I'll take you through that protocol after we have set the pound US dollar breakout trade. Okie doke. So a few rule changes as a result of yesterday's incursion into our private little room. That's not so private. All right, I have set the short for the pound breakout trade, and I have set the long, but the long's changing now as I speak because we have a new high. So I'll just go there. I'll set the short. I think that's pretty safe. Sell stop at 1.3627. Stop loss for that will be 1.3642. And that is safe to go in the market unless there's a mighty turnaround in the next minute or less. At the moment, I've got 36.53 for the buy. That will change. At the moment, it'll be 1.3659. But again, that could change if they press higher in the next little bit as well. I will, of course, give you the exact number when we've got it, but at this stage it is 1.3659. If the candle were to change now, that would be the case. The stop loss will be the same at 1.3628. Sorry, 1.3628. Yes, just one pip above the entry for the short. Interesting. So almost a candle is the range today. Almost, not quite. 1.3659 is still our entry points, and there you go. That will remain the case. Stop loss is the same. I can put that in the market. TP1 is going to change, but I will put this buy order in because it may move quickly. We have got, I don't know why that defaulted to there, but it did. A buy stop at 1.3659, as I said. We've got a stop loss at 1.3628. Okay. And it's already been triggered. So we've missed the entry on that. The first take profits. I hate limit entry orders, so I am not going to place that order. What I will do is wait till it gets down below the daily pivot, if it is so to do, and then I will replace it. Okay, so we've missed the entry. The TP1 would have been 15 pips, so the risk was 31. So our TP1 would have been 15 pips, which makes it 1.3674. would have been TP1, 1.3674. And TP2 would have been 62 pips, so 1.3721. 1.3721 would be TP2. Like I said, I'm not going to place this unless we get a retracement back below the daily pivot. I hate fiddling around here. It just doesn't work for me. I don't like to enter at market, and I don't like limit entry orders. So neither will be the case for me. You can use your own discretion with that. There is no discretion for me. It's a rule, as there is with a couple of other things that I need to take you through. Now, guys, if you've just joined YouTube, you will not be able to get into the meeting unless you have a passcode today. And the reason for that is because we were trolled yesterday, and we had all sorts of terrible things going on in the chat box, and of course we want to eliminate that. So the way to get into the meeting today on Zoom is normal link. The link is below us on whatever that is up there, the vision, the YouTube screen, the thing I'm on. But below that, there is a link. And if you go into that link, you will be asked for a passcode. The passcode today to get into the room is 837290. I'll say it again, 837290. That will get you into the room. Now, once you're into the room and you wish to talk to us, it's only me at the moment, but Ash, of course, will be here very, very shortly. What you need to do is put in the chat box, put your question in the chat box, and that will be vetted by either Ash or myself. And I mean, if we know you, that shouldn't be an issue. But if you're new to the show and new to this meeting, then we will need to have some sort of vetting. And the way we'll do that is just you put the question in the chat box. I will verify it, or Ash will verify that you're a genuine person and not a dickhead, and then we should be okay. All right, then we can open the microphone. You can open your mic, and away we shall go. All right, so I suspect that there'll be a few of you still not in the room, but those of you who have just joined us, we have a buy stop on the pound US dollar that I haven't taken because it went too quick. Excuse me. It went too fast. And TP1, the entry, sorry, was 1.3659. It's just above that at the moment. Because I missed the entry, I'll be waiting for a fairly decent retracement. So it'll be a SS2 entry, which would have worked yesterday, I think, Shukri, eh? Down to the daily pivot. By the look of it, would have worked. Yeah. So because I missed the entry, I won't settle limit entry. It just doesn't suit me. I don't do it that way. That's not the way I trade. If you choose to do that, then happy days. I don't have a problem with that because it is a legitimate way to trade. It's just not my way to trade. So if I miss this, I miss it. It's as simple as that. If, however, and I'm keeping the short in play, by the way, I'm keeping it there. And if it does come back and go through the short, then happy days. If it comes back and retraces to here, I will place the long as well. But it looks, for all intents and purposes, that this does want to go long, and we may well have missed it. Euro CAD is close to entry. Yes, it is, Fad. Indeed it is. And interestingly, who was it last week the other day? I can't remember. About why I didn't enter on the daily chart or the weekly chart. Turns out they were right and I was wrong. I can't say I was wrong because, look, that's just the way I do it. But had you entered on the daily chart yesterday or the day before, you would be going okay on EuroCAD. Let's have a look at that, shall we? Whilst we're waiting for this pound to come back. So we were talking about this bar on Monday, right? and I said I wouldn't trade that bar because we hadn't had a retracement, and that's my MO. Again, had we traded that, entry there, stop loss there, you would be well and truly into that trade now. Beyond 1-to-1, one would think. 100 pips, not quite, just bordering on the 1-to-1 mark. That's okay. I'm no drama. I'm happy to wait for a retracement here and pick up the retracement. I still think we're going to here, right? So it's no big deal. But would I like to be in it? Of course I'd like to be in it. It'd be silly not to say that. What is our entry, by the way? 53.94, so another 10 pips or something. What I'd really like to see is that retracement come in now and get to here before we are entered, because there will be a retracement here. You know, as sure as God made little green apples, there will be a retracement here of some kind. I will just repeat for those of you who are watching on YouTube and would like to come into the meeting. Change of rules, change of scenario because of yesterday's debacle with trolls coming into the room. You will need a passcode to get into the Zoom meeting, the link for which, as we all know, is below me here on the YouTube. I've got to have a thing to call that, beyond the display, down there in the description, under the description. That will get you to the Zoom room. There's a new one. And you'll be asked for a passcode. That passcode today, and this will change every day as I understand it, is 837290. 837290. And as Angel has just prompted me, thank you, Angel. When you do come into the room and change your name or present your name, you will need to have two names. And that doesn't mean Peter Pan or Jack Shit or anything like that. It means your name, your real name, first name, second name would be just grand. And then we can actually ID you and make sure it is you. And we will look to then have you ask us questions. This is a bit of a hiccup, I've got to say. But, and the reason it's a hiccup, because we wanted you guys to be able to, you know, chat freely amongst us. Because of the insecurity of Zoom, unfortunately, that is just a little bit difficult. Good on you, Shukri. Yes, you have 4 names. You'll have to reduce them. You'll have to reduce your names. Right, have we got an entry on pound US dollar? I suspect it's taking off. Look at that. Wouldn't it give you the Tom Tits? There you go. It's just hit TP1 and we're not in. So TP1 has been hit on the breakout trade. Shame we're not in it. Look, I think I will now cancel the short and just call it a non-event for the day. And look, that's the way she goes. That probably means that my pound Aussie trade is also not going so great. Oh, look at that. Bang on the trailing stop. So we entered, those of you who are in the Telegram group, and if you're not, I hope you can find your way into that group. There you go, trailing stop's just been hit on that. Therefore, that's a break-even trade. We sold at 75.93. We were trading this bar here. We set our stops above the first 4-hour bar of the day, and we got taken in very well. Got our TP1, bang on our TP1 actually. Where did that get to? 1.7559. Our TP1 was 1.7563. So we hit our TP1, but look what's happened since. They've just climbed into the pound out of the blocks this morning, and our trailing stop has been hit. So I'll break even trade there. I still have an order on the daily, and that is trading this bar here from yesterday. It's exactly the same entry as yesterday's order, but I've changed my stop loss up to here. Now at this stage that looks unlikely to trigger, but anything can happen, of course. It looks, however, that they've climbed into the pound or out of the dollar, maybe. Let's have a look at that. Wouldn't surprise me if they've got out of the dollar, but they it's coming off as we speak, because I guess the news of the day is they got him. Well, they haven't really got him yet, but 1,461 days after Donald Trump was inaugurated, he's now been impeached for the second time. And I kind of understand that, and yet I don't. And the reason I guess I do get it is they need him vetoed from the next challenge. So, you know, if he is impeached or kicked out or turfed out, whatever you want to call it, then he can't run again. That's it. End of Trump. And he might spend a bit of time cooling his heels in jail. I don't know. Who knows? That's all speculation. Whether that's going to affect the markets, the currencies, equities, stocks, is a question I can't answer. I wonder, can Ash? Ash, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, very good, mate. Yeah, very good. Oh, sorry, I didn't have my mic down. Yeah, very good, mate. Very good.
That's the shot. What's going on?
Yeah, the Donald Trump story is an interesting one. I don't really think it is a market driver personally. I think it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, we wait 4 years for Donald Trump to get impeached, and then he ends up getting impeached twice in the space of it. Well, in fact,
a week to go.
I remember the conversations about him not lasting. You know, not lasting a few months. Never mind 4 years.
I thought they'd shoot him before he got into office, mate.
Yeah, they didn't get him, mate. They didn't get him, but. No. Yeah,
they
interesting
might have
one.
Him on the 12th hour.
I think they probably will. But it's more. It seems more of a, well, mind you, the situation that happened in the Capitol a few days ago was certainly impeachable, and you know how Donald Trump kind of incited that does suggest that, you know, nobody should be allowed to do that. Never mind the US president. You know, the leader of the free world shouldn't be able to be responsible for so much carnage. So yeah, you know, they're going to end up getting him, but I don't think that's a market driver. I think what we're kind of seeing here with the market. Fad, how you doing, buddy?
I think maybe if it had happened 2 years ago, or even maybe a year ago, maybe a different story. But it's all over for him anyway. You know.
Yes, gone. It is exactly.
So all the impeachment means is that he can't stand again. And does the market care about that? I don't think so.
I don't think it does, mate. And I'm looking at some strength in the dollar. Sorry, some weakness in the dollar this morning, more down to the fact that we've got Jerome Powell out later on. You know, what is Jerome Powell likely to say? And I think it could be quite an interesting spin that he could put on the markets. And you know, I'm quite keen to say that, you know, if we want to get long the dollar, which I think, you know, on the whole, everybody's quite keen to get long the dollar. And if we want to get long the dollar, we probably should wait for either this speech to happen or the lead-in for the speech to happen, because I think there could be some weakness going into it. You know, Jerome Powell has not indicated at any point that that he's going to be drawing back on the asset buying. So, you know, with the situation over in America, there is still some suggestion that the market does need some help. So that's what I'm looking for. Now, whether that happens, I don't know, because there does seem to be quite a broad tone of a strong dollar bias, you know, coming into the first few weeks, maybe the first few months of the year. Some of that is because of the stimulus. Some of that is because of the bonds. Some of that is because of the fact that the dollar got so sold up that that the turn of the year does tend to kind of change things around a little bit. So I think that there's every chance that that we could see some dollar strength. But exactly the point you think things are going to happen in the market, the reverse happens more often than not, actually, and it's almost a strategy in itself, just to kind of go in the opposite direction than everybody's talking about in the short term.
I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what I think is going to happen. You know, I'll show you some of the charts, mate, and I'll show you what I'm looking at with some of these.
Just before you do, we spoke about yesterday how long it took this shoulder to form, right?
Yes.
And we also spoke yesterday about how we think we may be hanging around here a little bit before this gets to here, if it gets to here. And as I said yesterday, if there's a breakout, here's the acceleration point. But I'm still of the opinion this is going to find its way down to this level at some stage. Powell could drive it down there today, no question.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But that's kind of where I'm going to start looking for the longs. Sorry, mate.
Yeah,
over to you.
yeah, I'm with you on that, and I think the question mark really over the top of that is, could it go down to actually give us a double bottom rather than the inverted head and shoulders? We're looking for that inverted head and shoulders,
and like that level we spoke of weeks ago.
Yeah,
89.
Yeah. Could it go down just that little bit further? But let me show you what I'm looking at, and this is what I think we could, as traders, sort of like start to think about. Let's start with the euro. Now the euro is floating around currently at the monthly pivot. There is this trend line here, which is still untested, and it kind of coincides with the weekly pivot. And you pointed it out as well the other day, mate, which I think is it probably coincides quite nicely with what you're looking at with the inverted head and shoulders with the dollar. Now the key really with this is that if we've got to be looking for value. Every time we trade, we've got to try and look for value. Now, is there value in trading at this particular point? And of course, the answer is going to be yes, because if the euro's to weaken from here, then it shows that it was the value. This was the best possible price before it starts to move to the downside. So yes, there's value there, but what's the other kind of what's the other image and the other picture that this chart is telling us? And it's saying that yes, we could break down from this point, but there's also a probability that we could come and test this level or this level. Now this level is confluence in regards to weekly pivot and trend line. Now we don't know whether there's a fib there as well, but let's put one on and see if there's confluence there as well. Now, if we try and find the highest point of confluence, we are going to be pretty close to be able to make money over the course of a period every single time. Now, they're not right on top of each other, but you can see that there's a 50% retracement at 122.40. The 50% retracement would be the better one. It starts to get a little bit high. If we believe that there is some genuine weakness here, then the 50% retracement looks to be the genuine one. But look, there's some confluence here as well. 122.13. I was calling for 122.10 for a short, and I think that short is valid and relevant. And I think the stops above this trend line and above this the 61.8 retracement look to be around about the right place. So it looks to me that it's going to be around about a 60 pip stop loss if you start to enter here. And my counsel would be try and enter one here and try and enter another one in this area somewhere. So try and spread out the trade a little bit. So we are down here with the euro. Now it looks to me like we could be in a buy zone, at this particular point as well. So that's another reason that I quite like some upside. Could just get to the daily pivot and fail. That looks like a bit of confluence there as well. So there's quite a few points that this one could fail. You can see that horizontal level right across there, which does suggest that it could actually be the daily pivot, and there might even be a little trend line from the top as well. Could be, depending on what time that happens, that trend line might even come into play, and it might even be a shade tighter than that. No, you probably it could be looking at these closing prices. So looks like there's a 1, 2, potentially 3 possible price points here, mate, that I see that we might see the dollar fail, the euro dollar fail at. The daily would be a point to be taking very, very little if you were going to trade it. I would suggest a little bit more at this point, and then the final position would be here with a stop loss somewhere at about 122.70. I think is a decent enough price point to put a stop loss. So that would be my particular position. The other thing that I haven't just mentioned, even though I did say that you pointed it out, which is absolutely right, is that if it pops up here, that is going to be the right shoulder, and that's going to look like a really attractive trade and a really good position to get in. Now, if you burn all of your money here, then you won't have an opportunity here or here to try and get into this particular move. So that I think scaling in is wise, and I would suggest that this would be a very, very speculative position. That would be the next one, and obviously that would be the next one. Maybe, well, I don't know, somewhere between these two prices, but I think that's possible. Now, if we compare the rest of the move, if we compare the rest of the market with what's going on with the euro, and just look at the dollar, because the dollar's the story of the day. Let's have a look what the others suggest as well. As you just mentioned with the pound's quite keen. Pound dollar looks like we've currently got on the pound dollar, we've currently got this little higher low area here. So higher low there. Yes, there's some resistance up there, but we've still got a little bit of room before we get up to that resistance point. So the pound dollar looks like it could well strengthen into that Jerome Powell speech. Remember, we're focusing purely on the Jerome Powell speech. The Aussie dollar, I think this is almost the best one in many respects. Now, wrong type of place in the market for this to happen, but there is a little inverted head and shoulders here as well. So there is some bullish looking price action against the US dollar right now, and we just looked at only 3, but there's some bullish looking price action against the US dollar right now. Now, if we consider what is a potential driver, then that does lead us to looking at the Jerome Powell speech, because we're looking at when does this this potentially start to move, and this would be, the best possible time to get into a trade really is after this. That would be the best possible time. So sometime after the speech is finished would be the best possible time. Will you get that opportunity? Don't know, because we just don't know how volatile the market moves. It might move down before the speech. It might move up before the speech. It might move sideways before the speech. It might move sideways. Then all of a sudden, just before he's about to speak, we see a big pop to the upside, and that's the opportunity. I don't know. So the way that you handle something like that is to prepare yourself for price points first. Put orders in if that's what you feel most comfortable with. If it's the Aussie that you like, start thinking about the price points that you would enter this market at, and just allow the market then to tell you how it feels about waiting for the speech and then the speech itself, because you're really looking for the speech to drive the dollar in your favor. Now, if it doesn't, not a problem, because you're not going to risk a lot on this one trade. You're not going to put everything on this one trade. You're not going to say this is the moment it's going to go down, because we don't know. What we do know is that it has a potential to move the dollar in our favor to the upside after it's happened. But it might move it in the opposite direction, because Jerome Powell really over the course of the last 3 to 6 months has driven the dollar down. That the effect of a Fed meeting has driven the dollar lower. So we got to take that into account and expect that could still happen again. It's a 50-50 chance. So if we are entering into positions, and I'll go back to the euro, because it would be my favored one, because Christine Lagarde did not spur the market to too much happiness yesterday. So I like the euro dollar as a short. I also like the dollar Swiss as a short as well. The dollar Swiss is a long, so which would mean the Swissy as a short. So if we look at this and say, right, what we're going to do is we're going to enter this trade along our particular price points. We're going to put in our stop at this level up here, 122.70. But we're going to enter in 3 positions. We're going to go once at the daily pivot. We're going to go once at the this high here, and then we're going to go another one somewhere in between these 2 points, probably around about the weekly pivot. And that's going to cost us 0.5% for the whole 3 of them, or 1/3%, whatever it is. Now, if we are wrong, no big deal. Let the market take us out and do its thing, and then we can put our next trade at 0.5% on if the market actually gives us a proper setup and it starts to come up. So at the minute, we're going to sell into price. But then if it comes up here, maybe takes that level out even, then we're just going to wait for this trend line to break or something like that, and then we're going to get in at a similar price, and then we're going to see if we can fall down, stops at the highs, and this will be our 0.5% risk. So if we like the dollar as a long play over the course of the next 2 to 3 weeks, then we're going to have to keep entering it until we get our trade, or it proves that it's not going to be the case. And the time that it's proving it's not going to be the case, in my opinion, is if the dollar index breaks below that 89 and holds down there for a period, because there's some open water then. So if we think about that on the euro, then it would mean the euro breaking above what looks like this level here, breaks above this trend line, so takes out these highs here. We're definitely wrong at that point, so we're going to stop trading the dollar for an upside position at that particular point. Looks like there could be something there as well. Oh, it's a tricky one, isn't it, mate? Because this could go on for quite some time. You could be wrong quite a lot.
Yeah, but I think you're going to be wrong horizontally very quickly. If that's to be the case, I think 122.70, 123 area is wrong, and I don't think it's wrong, to be fair. I'm a massive bear, but I think 123 will tell you whether you're right or wrong.
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. I think you're right, and you just have to keep getting in. There is a passcode to get into the room, guys. The passcode is 837290. Passcode. I'm going to put it on the screen.
I could have done that, couldn't I?
Yeah.
I just kept saying it. Oh, you've got this fancy tool. I haven't got.
837290. And that will get you in the room. Now, you are all welcome to. Thank you, Angel. You are all welcome to come into the room and have a chat at any time. This is your show, guys. So, any of you wants to come in and have a chat with us, then come on in. Just put your hand up, and we will bring you on mic, and you can come and tell us how your year's going. And
little bit more complex than that. You need to have 2 names.
Yeah. 2 names, yeah, yeah.
You need to have 2 names, like Dick Head.
Yeah.
Not. You need to have 2
I think
real
that's 3 names.
It is.
There's John. There you go, buddy.
You found it, John. Good. So you need to have 2 names, and then you need to put your question in the questions box, or the chat box rather. Ash or I will see that, and if you're not Dick Head or Tracy or anybody like that, then we will obviously allow you into the questions, and you'll be unmuted. So sad, but that's the way it has to be, guys, because of yesterday's debacle with all those Dick Heads who came into the room.
Oh, did we have a bit of trolling, did we?
Where were you? Oh, it was before you came in. That's right.
Before I came in, I'm quite gutted I missed it.
Mate, you would have actually genuflected had you heard all that trashy stuff.
Oh, really? Oh, it was quite bad language, was it?
Was not good. No.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. Okay. I don't know what, if people got not anything better to do with their time, it's like
amazing.
What? Yeah. Anyway, so let's get back to talking about other things. So that's the dollar, anyway, mate. And that would also hold for gold. It would hold for gold. Now, in actual fact, where is gold? Here it is. You know what? I don't.
Came off yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, it has come off just a little bit. And gold's similar to the rest of them. Anything that's trading against the dollar has got a potential likelihood to come off a little bit. So I do see gold potentially weaker as well. And again, it could be after the Jerome Powell speech. It might be next week. I mean, we did say that the left shoulder took a few days to form, so the right shoulder would actually mathematically have symmetry next week rather than this week. So this Jerome Powell speech, while we're all expecting a setup off the back of the Jerome Powell speech, it might result into nothing, mate. And that's what tends to happen with this stuff, doesn't it? Which is why we can't ever trade on a trade by trade basis. We've got to try and trade it, see if it works out. If it doesn't work out, keep your focus and keep your opinion. If your opinion hasn't changed fundamentally, then why should you not still be looking for technical setups and continue to be disciplined and wait for the technical setup to appear? Now, I want to talk about Ethereum, and I'm hoping
Hang on,
Shukri's
before you
going to.
do,
Yeah,
before you go on to these trick pony things,
yeah,
back to gold.
yeah.
Are you expecting gold to it's already retraced. Are you expecting gold to fall further? Not necessarily against the US dollar, just as an entity. Is gold going to fall further before it goes long, or is it going to fall for reasons other than it's a safe haven? Or what's your thoughts on gold? Because, and the reason I ask that, I would rather not, and I don't trade gold, right? But I'm kind of keen to start learning how to trade gold. And if I'm thinking about trading gold, then I want to trade it not against the US dollar, because I think that's a little bit trickier than something like the Aussie, which I don't think is terribly tricky. Get a retracement on the Aussie, you got to buy it at the moment, in my humble opinion. It's just that trend's going to continue for some time. So gold per se, rather than gold versus the US dollar, is it a sell or is it a buy?
I think it's a really good question, mate. I'm just going to put a slightly different spin on it as well. Shook we can't do, but we escaped a major Head and Shoulders going down for you. Okay, mate. All right, we'll have a look at that in a moment. Yeah, just to put a slightly different spin on it as well. If we consider gold as a safe haven, as you quite rightly point out, we should also consider silver. And I wonder whether we should actually just edge a little bit towards silver, because silver's got a function, whereas gold doesn't. You know, gold is just a protection of assets, whereas silver's got this function, and the function of silver, I think, becomes even more prevalent with this push for clean energy. You know, it's not quite as used as reported in some of the solar units, but it is still used. You know, it's not the I think that people are going away from silver a little bit more. They're able to use other products to make these solar panels, but it is still used by
solar panels. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to keep interrupting you. I'm sorry, but
that's okay.
I've just made my own solar hot water system, right?
Have you?
For my propagation house, or hothouse, if you like. Now, this is as simple as putting some polypipe on your roof, right? So you just put some polypipe on your roof. Low density polypipe costs, what's it cost? About shivers. I'm not sure how much a meter. Let's say $1 a meter, something like that.
Yeah.
So you put $100 worth of polypipe on your roof, and you buy a pump which costs about $100.
Yeah.
And you pump the water. You got a tank. You got a big tank inside your hothouse, right? That's full of water.
Yeah.
And you pump the water out of that tank up to your roof, through the polypipe, back to the tank, and you've got hot water.
Okay.
Why do you have to buy a solar panel and hook it up? What's all that shit about? that's just marketing, man. That's all.
Well, the thing is, for an experienced scientist like you, you can come up with this stuff. You know, kind of getting a couple of sticks in a forest and creating a forest fire. But for the rest of us, we have to we have to pay thousands of pounds for this type of expertise. So no, well, we probably don't, mate. But you should see my DIY skills. They're pretty low. They're pretty sparse. So I don't know.
Have a neighbour, mate. Carton of beer and just fixed.
All right. Well, okay.
I'm completely taking you off track.
No, that's okay. Let's forget about solar panels. Let's talk about electric batteries. We're also a user of silver components. So the point I'm making is that silver actually is still a material for the future. You know, it's not like oil, which is potentially going to get phased out over the next 50 years. Silver still has a function. So we could look at gold. Yes, we could also look at silver as a potential commodity to buy. Now, the broad question is, does it come lower from here? Well, the COT data suggests it does, because the commercials haven't yet started to heavily go into gold and silver. So that would suggest at best sideways, at worst a bit more downside. However, there is, I think, probably enough commentary and enough concern of the inflation story to suggest that we should have gold, silver, or one or the other or both in our portfolio. So gold is certainly a buy. In my opinion, it's not a sell. You know, I couldn't comfortably trade it to the downside. I think it should come lower, but all I'm really looking for is, can it come lower so I can buy it, rather than trying to trade it to the downside.
Where you just wait and wait and wait until it gets there. 6,000 pips lady. Shit, I wish I'd traded that short.
Yeah,
Well,
probably, mate. I just don't feel comfortable trading gold short. I think it's
totally,
you know, it could just pop up. You know, it's very difficult to know where it comes to, but I do want it in my portfolio. However, I think the price is too high, so I'm not interested here. Around about the $1,700 a barrel, $1,700 an ounce starts getting me interested. So we're a little way off that, but at this stage, I wouldn't like to call gold one way or the other, except for I think in the longer term it goes higher. So indices, any advice on indices? Comparing the volatility is more on silver. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. However, Fad, so Fad's saying that comparing the volatility is more on silver than it is on gold. So also gold is likely to be more predictable, a chart in movement. Yes, it is, mate, because of the volatility. You're absolutely right. So, but that's only if you are talking about the shorter term timeframes. Really, you know, gold is a lot more gentle. But if you think about it, if you were to track back, what's the price of gold in comparison to silver over the course of 10 years, let's say, they're pretty close. You know, I think gold wins by about 3% or something. It's not a massive difference in price appreciation. So if we're talking about portfolio protection, we're really talking about from an investor's perspective and an investor's point of view. If we're talking about a trader's perspective, then in some respects it makes more sense to have silver because of the volatility. You know, if we could get, you know, in a day it could go up by, you know, 8%, 10%, and we make a really good return. So if we're trading it, I think gold's a much more attractive proposition. If we're investing in it, that you know, in some respects they have equal footing, as I say, because of the change in value over the course of a long period of time. They're not that far away. I think gold has a little bit more value than silver, but it's not, you know, depending on which time frame you pick it over. But you go back 10, 15 years, they're not that far away in percentage terms. So so silver's a, you know, I think I think a much more interesting one. Really what you've got to look for is, what are you paying costs? As far as I'm aware, silver they charge VAT, whereas gold they don't when you actually buy the physical product, certainly in the UK anyway. So you have to sort of, you know, put the costs into play as well. You know, where are you paying the taxes on it? And I think that's one of the reasons that maybe gold becomes slightly more attractive on that front. Now, when it comes down to so let's talk about digital gold, mate. Ethereum, Bitcoin. Yep. Let's see what's going on with those guys, because we've seen Bitcoin up to 40,000. Massive push to the downside to get but you know, down to 30,000. So from, you know, near enough 42,000 down to 30,000 is a massive jump to the downside. You know, so it's a what would that be? A 20% drop within a day. It was very very violent, very vicious, the move to the downside. Does it come any lower?
Yeah, sometimes it's 30, isn't it? Sometimes it's 30 and 40.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And I heard somebody say that they don't want to invest in anything that they could lose 20% of their portfolio in.
I heard that.
Yeah,
I read that somewhere. Yeah.
In a heartbeat, and effectively in a day session.
And there's the difference between risk appetite, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I mean, obviously, the counter arguments to that is, don't buy it at the highs. You know, because if you buy it at a sensible position, then you're much more likely to be making, 15% rather than losing 20 or 30%. So and edge your way in and trade it sensibly, and you'll be okay. I think the problem with Bitcoin is that because of the parabolic move, everybody's looking to hit the ball out the park with the likes of Bitcoin, and the chart looks kind of scary, but you just can't trade. You just have to still trade it sensibly, only putting on your 1% or 2% into the market when you're trading something like this, and not try and whack your whole your whole portfolio on it so you can make those big gains. When a chart has done this already, those days are gone. The chance of making, if you think about it, Bitcoin is currently near enough $40,000. The next possible target that people have talked about is $100,000. Now, if it gets close to $80,000, that's going to be a 100% move to the upside. Okay, that sounds amazing. But let's have a look at something like the FTSE, for example. No, let's not look at the FTSE actually. Let's look at silver instead, because silver's a little bit cheaper.
You paused a bit on the FTSE, mate. Is that for a reason?
Yes, it is. I will come to the FTSE because I know somebody's asking about equities. So silver. Now, if silver was to go up 100%, it's got to go from 25 up to 50, and that's just to this point. Now, the difference is Bitcoin hasn't got an all-time high that it is at the all-time high. Silver still could go to its all-time high, so that could also go up 100% from this particular point, but just be getting back to a genuine chart structure perspective. So Bitcoin moving up 100% isn't that much of a headline in many respects. When we think that there are other things out there that could do that. And that are probably a lot more attractive, and probably some of the alternative coins that Shukri always educates us on, the likes of Stellar and Cardano, and those guys, they could go up 100% in a heartbeat because they are at decent values, whereas Bitcoin is just not as attractive. But anyway, does Bitcoin come down from here?
They're also unknown quantities, Silver at least has history.
Yes, absolutely. Where does Ethereum go right now? Where does gold? Sorry, where does Bitcoin go right now? Difficult, obviously, to know. But my personal view is that if we see some dollar strength, I think we see some of the cryptos coming down a bit as well, and it would be quite nice for it just to calm down a little bit. It does happen. To be fair, I think you could say that this area here shows some relative calm. And a genuine a breakout and a pullback and a genuine point to get into this. This is just untradeable at this particular position. It's just one of those ones that if you're in it already, hold on to it. But right now, I'd like to see this gap down here close, if it exists or not, or if it's just a weekend move. I don't know. But coming down to around about 750, that's of interest to me with Ethereum. But at these prices, not really too interested in that. Let's talk equities, mate. Yeah. When it comes down to the FTSE, so my particular play with the FTSE is I do have a still have long positions in the FTSE, and I'm holding on to them.
Hang on, mate. Sino, if you can't get into the room, mate, you need that passcode. Is it still on your screen, Ash? No.
No, but I will put it back up.
You need a passcode because we had some trolls in yesterday, mates, and the number is 837290. So you just go to the link that you have in the chat there and use that passcode, and you should be able to get into the room, no problem.
There you go.
And yes, Eurocat has been triggered, John. Worst possible entry, but you're not concerned. I would love to have seen a retracement before that entry, but it is what it is. We're on a monthly chart. I don't think we will definitely have retracement, but we should be able to withstand that.
We'll get to that trade in a moment, mate. Is that a long or a short?
It's a short.
Short on the Eurocat. Okay, so let's talk FTSE. So the first thing with the FTSE is similar, I suppose, in some respects to Ethereum. It's gone up quite a long way. Now you can see that there is this primary trend line that, if we think about the monthly chart, now the monthly chart is our primary primary chart. So this is primary price action. So the biggest price action. It's in a downtrend. You know, we're breaking to the downside, and we're really back up retesting this area. Now that says to me that even though I'm still long the FTSE, but I am long all the way down here, and I'm going to hold on to that position. Even though I still like the FTSE for some further upside, this doesn't look to me like a sensible place to go long. This looks to me like a place that we wait for some retracement to the downside and then see if we can go long. If it happened all the way back down to 6,200 would be brilliant. But I don't know if it's going to come down that far. But I'd like to start edging back into the FTSE, but not right on this particular point. Now, if we think also about the fundamentals of what's going to be driving this market. I think it's a really interesting year for markets. I think that we're all looking for Joe Biden to start kind of pushing equities higher, and I think if you pick the right group, he will be able. There will be that group that does that, and it's probably the valuation stocks. That's what everybody seems to be talking about right now, which means that the growth picture and the growth story that we saw over the last year and a half, 2 years, is potentially over. And as traders, it's almost better to have the growth stocks than it is to have the valuation stocks, because the value stocks, because growth stocks do just explode, and it means that we can get some really good profit in the bank pretty nice and quickly. But with value stocks, you're really looking for those for an investment, rather than trading them. Not to say you can't trade them, but they are better for investors than they are for traders. Now, why are we going to get value stocks? Well, what's some of the reasons that people buy stocks? And one reason is to protect their income, protect their wealth, and another reason is to grow their wealth.
Another reason is there's nowhere else to put your money.
Right. Well, okay. So that brings us to that point quite beautifully. So there's nowhere else to put your money, so you put them in stocks. What happens if that 10-year bond rate starts to move higher, the 30-year bond rate starts to move higher? What you will then have is a situation where people are able to put their money in something infinitely less risky than stocks, that gives you a half decent return. But more importantly, when you value a stock, you are always saying, how much more than the treasury rate do I want to earn from this stock to justify my risking capital into it? So let's say from the stock market, you earn 3%, but the treasuries pay you 1%. Is that 2% worth it for stocks that could tank and go down and go to zero? No, it's not. So when you start looking at valuations, you have to sort of make sure that the gap between the yield that you're going to get on treasuries is broad enough and wide enough over a long-term period than you're going to get on stocks. So we've got to watch out for that this year. And I wonder whether the stimulus that Joe Biden is talking about is going to affect some of those value names. And so with the stock market, I think that there's some bumpy roads ahead, and I don't think it's going to just continue to fly to the upside like it has been doing. So that's why I'm currently on pause with it. I think that we need to see some of those tectonic plates start to shift and get a clearer picture of where the market is going before we can genuinely start making some longer term plays on this. Now, in saying that, does that mean that there's some shorts in the market? Probably are. If we think about the play to the upside being potentially unattractive, where's the short in the FTSE? I think there's a potential short along this trend line here. That looks to me like a decent area. So I am looking for shorts in the FTSE, and I think it's around about the 6,800 level. I'm going to put up a fib as well, and I probably will take a short at that point as well. Yeah, I like that. 38% retracement from the highs. You got this trend line which may end up coinciding with that, and that looks like it's tomorrow. So anybody that's in the Telegram group, which I encourage you guys to join, it's free for the first month. If you stick in the Telegram group, I'll post this in when I'm looking for the short. So I'm looking for the short in the FTSE, but really not until 6,800. The weekly pivot and daily pivot are just areas that it could weaken. They are not price points where it's shown me some support and resistance that I'm interested in. That's no confluence there, not enough confluence there for me. So I'd like to take a short in around about the 6,800 level and maybe play it down to the monthly pivot, more likely maybe along this trend line down here that I've got in the market, which is when you see it on a longer term time frame, it's this kind of pattern along here. So from 6,800 down to around about the 6,650 would be my play on the FTSE. So I am looking at them, mate, but there's just the timing isn't quite there yet for me.
Interesting. You received that link that Shukri sent us. I had a good look at that. Very, very interesting. Wow, there's some work gone into that, I've got to tell you.
Oh yeah,
and
clever man.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the staff do a lot of the work, but it's tending to suggest that, well, on a few different scenarios, but with stocks in particular, and I had a very, very brief read of it, it tends to suggest that we will get 3 phases this year. One leading into the middle of the year, one coming through the middle of the year, and as usual, at the third quarter of the year, we'll get another phase. So up, down, up is what I'm gleaning from that, and it kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think so. I think we should look at that in a bit more detail. Actually, we'll do that next week and bring his stuff in. I'm not sure if we can actually put it live on screen, but let's have a good comb through it, mate, and and see what that suggests. John, I've just seen your question. So, Angel, can you see that? Actually, you may not know that. Could you know that, Jeff?
Which part? I can't see the question.
So John's links with the old US show. Does he keep it or does he cancel it and re-sign up?
I can't see that question. What's the old US show? Oh, our old US show.
Yes.
Right, got you.
Does he keep that link?
That should have been. No. That should have been transferred to, as I understand it, the Telegram group, or a choice to go somewhere else. That's, as I understand it, ongoing. But please bear with me on that, John. I really don't. I don't know the definitive answer to that. I know what we discussed, but what the result was, I'm not 100% sure. So that's probably one for James, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sorry, Angel. I didn't mean to bring you into that. I realised that's not. I don't know. Jeff doesn't know, and I wouldn't expect you to know either. Actually, that is James. That is James's department. Shukri, got it, buddy. Yeah, can discuss, but not live on screen. Good stuff, mate. We will discuss that probably next week. And also, I will put up the pound trade into the group as well, into the Telegram group, and we'll put that up on our Excel spreadsheet. So we'll start doing the journaling as well with that, so we can get up to speed and up to date again.
Okay, and we've got a few trades from the week, have we not? Yes, we do. You've got 2 winners on the euro. The breakout trade was 1 up, 1 down, 1 break even, 1 no entry. So far, we've got a pound Aussie that was break even. Actually, I don't know whether you guys got into Swissy yen, but that looks like it may not go too well. We've still got a pound Aussie an order in the market. I'm going to give you, depending on what the next 5 minutes delivers us, I may give you another trade on pound Swissy in a little bit.
I've just seen.
And EuroCAD, of course, has triggered, but that's going to take a long time to play out.
Yeah, should we have a look at that, mate? No, should we have a look at the EuroCAD? I've just seen Crystal's post. One Bitcoin miner sold off and made almost $1 billion, and that's the thing, isn't it? That some of these guys are able to do that. Yeah, crazy stuff. Okay, mate. Should we go through that trade? EuroCAD?
EuroCAD?
Yeah.
Sure thing. We had a question, and I can't remember who asked the question.
John. Was it John?
Earlier, no, earlier in the week
Oh, yeah.
about why I traded the month, and I did a full explanation in a video in the Telegram group as to why I chose the monthly over the weekly and the daily. And it turns out that had we taken that daily candle here, and my reasoning was not to take that daily candle and trade it short underneath, that we were bang on DR1. We had a support level directly underneath us, and the potential for us to go back to the monthly pivot and maybe spike back above it again was too high for me to take the risk. So what I'd seen in the first place, and what I've seen for months and months and months and months, and I've been waiting for this, right, for a long time. And we've tried, I think this is the 10th, maybe the 11th attempt we've had at getting short EuroCAD. Some of them being winners, some of them being TP1, some of them being, I think we might have even had a loser on, I can't remember quite frankly, but we've got a massive, massive level here, right? And the only time we've been above that level, pardon me, is global financial crisis times. It's the only time we've been above that level for not ever, but since what, 2003. So my question, as always, is why now, after all of that time, since 2008, 2009, and the global financial crisis, why now would we, after 1, 2, 3, 4 attempts on the monthly chart, why would we now burst above there? What would cause that to happen? And you could say, okay, Brexit ending. You could say the price of oil crashing. You could say all sorts of different things, but I don't see any of that that's made a difference in the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months to change my mind. So I believe that we are going down to here. And if I believe we're going down to here, all I needed to do was find a setup. And the setup finally came with this bar here. Now, it's not ideal, absolutely not ideal, but it is a potential lower high. It's also a potential ring high, I think they call them, but that's not part of my vocabulary in trading or my MOs. So to me, that is a rejection bar. It's a lower high off a double top at a super strong resistance level, and it's also the top of a range. So if I don't trade that, then something wrong with me. I need.
Yeah. Did you hear Christine Lagarde yesterday as well, mate?
No, did she agree with me? Did she? She's got that trade on?
Well, she's trying to be, put a positive spin on things, but actually Europe's in a lot of trouble. And we've also got this situation in Italy as well. Now, I don't know whether that would play out necessarily into the market or not, but Conte did not get the majority, so Italy's government is in a state of uncertainty and a state of flux potentially, and it could, that could put pay to some strength in the euro, but the euro area is in trouble because the pandemic and the situation over in Germany and France and Spain and many other countries has caused this lockdown. Now, the vaccine is not being rolled out anywhere near quick enough at this stage. So the concern for the market is that, and for Christine Lagarde, is that she's going to need to further extend the asset purchase program beyond her first prediction. Now, the euro area shrunk or has not gained anywhere near the amount that they thought it would. So economists, I think, we're looking at 3.6%, maybe 3.4%, and it's only gained by 2.4% or 2.6%. So it's less than it should be. And then you've got this problem with the pandemic, and you've got this problem with lockdowns, which don't look like there's a light at the end of the tunnel on a time frame right now. So if that rolls over into second quarter, then the euro, the ECB will have to continue to buoy the market up. And I think that's why we're seeing this weakness in the euro, and that's why we're seeing that the euro could be actually, it is a sell against many of these currencies, and the CAD being one of them. But I also quite like it against the pound as well.
Yeah, look, the CAD has got far more credentials going for it at the moment than does the euro, based on what you're just saying.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have to have many at all, based on what you've just said about the euro, but it does. It's got good credentials, and the economy's ticking along okay. Oil prices are rising at the moment. That will help the Canadian dollar. I think coming out of COVID, Canadians are in a far better position than any country in Europe, basically. So yeah, you've got that fundamental pressure just adds to the flavour of this trade, in my humble opinion. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but as I said before, if I don't take that trade, then I shouldn't be trading, really. It's a setup that I have to take. Simple as that.
Yeah, that's fair, mate. That's fair. All right, I better do the
You're out of here,
off-snip.
buddy.
Yeah.
Or you'll get sacked.
Well, to be honest, I'm not even sure whether I've got a student today, because yeah, there was a 3:00 a 3:00 eating party going on last night. So I'm not sure whether
0300.
0300, yeah, 3 a.m. Not sure
dear.
whether the student's going to be
still asleep, I would imagine, at the moment.
Probably. Which suggests that I may well be kind of twiddling my thumbs for a while. But I mean, I could go and check. It depends how long you're going to be around. So I'm going to see if there are. In fact, I'll do that, and I'll come back if there's still Zland in town.
All right, I'll just whip around the grounds and set up this pound Swissy thing if I feel it's worthwhile, and I'll close if you're not back. That's fine.
Good stuff.
Right, guys. So we've got the Euro CAD story, and one thing I didn't mention was that was the daily chart. The weekly chart, there was simply no setup there for me apart from this one during Christmas. Now that is perfect, and had I been in front of the charts and looking to trade that on the weekly chart, wow, that would have been absolutely the best price I could have got. But I wasn't, and for that reason, I am not in the weekly, because there is no other setup here for me to trade. Remembering that I do not trade any black bar short. I just don't do it. So that's the perfect one for me. And that was most definitely the lower high, that I was seeking on the weekly chart. So had I hung around about Christmas time and been looking at the charts and trading, then maybe that would have been the one. Maybe that was the one. But we've missed that anyway. We're in it on the monthly. We'll see how that goes. It may take a long time to pan out. It's true. So don't get too concerned about what happens in the next few weeks. This could take a long time to get down to here, and hopefully never back to here. That's of course the point of the exercise. Now, before Christmas, we did get into Aussie Kiwi long, and those of you who were in that position should be smiling okay right now, because that's doing mightily and looks like it wants to go on with the job again today, which is not bad news. Now, I've moved my stop loss up to here, which is what, 106.90 something. I can't remember. 106.92. Yeah, 106.92. Reason it's there is because it's got protection with, well, the daily pivot now as well, but the weekly pivot and this horizontal level here. Now, I'll just let this run for the week. If it continues to go higher, then I'll lock in some more profits, probably tomorrow before the weekend. Where's that likely to be? Yeah, I like where the weekly pivot is, but the weekly pivot's going to go up, don't forget, on Monday. I may even work out where the weekly pivot's going to be and sneak my stop loss below that before close of trading for the week. So that's probably going to be my MO there. Nothing more to say, really. That's been a pretty good trade. The euro was spoken about at length, and I'm 100% on board as being a euro bear, which of course is one of the reasons I like Euro CAD so much. We are at a strong resistance level, in my humble opinion, And if you don't see that, well, there it is in plain view. It's a bit of a cloud of a price, there's no question. And it may yet sneak a little bit higher, maybe to this confluence area, but we're already at one confluence area and we're coming off it. Am I willing to trade the euro versus the dollar short at the moment? I don't think so, because as I said, and I'll go back to it, those of you who aren't au fait with what I think on this US dollar index, I'm looking for this to come down to here, but it may happen over time, as we've said. It may not happen, full stop, but that's where I want to be a dollar buyer and a euro seller, right? Euro versus the dollar, that is. That's where I want to be a seller, not where we are right now. So that's my thought process. More than happy to do it. And that may well coincide with price getting up to here on the euro, around about the 124.70 mark. If that's the case, then I'll be jumping all over it and wouldn't have an issue with it. But at this moment, it's a not yet for me, but Ash is smashing it. So I don't need to worry about it. Okay, apart from the breakout trade, which we missed today and would have got a TP1 and would be still in that trade had we not missed it. The reason we missed it just went too fast to get the trade on that. That's going to happen. And unless you're absolutely ready for it and you're trading at the top of a candle, that's going to happen often. I don't like to place limit entry orders, as I said before, and that's why I didn't get into this trade. Had we retraced, then different story, but no retracement, no entry for me. In terms of where I don't really want to go through things that I'm not looking to trade, so I won't even talk about this too much, but I can see this pulling back off here right now. Where to, take your pick. There's a few support levels underneath us. Things I am looking to trade is Aussie US dollar, and I'm looking to trade it short. Now, I actually did place an order this morning underneath this bar here, pretty much as it's not a genuine double cross, but it is a break and retest of the weekly pivot and the daily pivot, and that's why it was attractive to me. The only thing that wasn't attractive to me was the candle itself. Yeah, I'll have a look at CAD yen, no problem, Crystal, that's fine. I will have a look at, but since then, we've got double cross after double cross after double cross, and it's now not that appealing to me. But I do see the head and shoulders that are sitting here inside this channel. So left shoulder, head, it's a double head, right shoulder. So this becomes the neckline. And that's why I think this is reasonable if we can pick it up. I just don't know where now. It's a little bit iffy for me. As always, if we broke resistance, let's say we hit the top of that channel, which is about here somewhere. So up to here, back underneath the trade line, but it'd have to come underneath the pivots as well. Take out the low of the day and then pull back. Then I would look to trade it. But it's very convoluted, but it's definitely on my watch list. The order that I placed earlier, I cancelled, which was underneath that bar. So I'm waiting for another setup. Kiwi, we spoke about this yesterday where we already had the head and shoulders. The neckline hasn't broken yet. The only way I'd like to trade this is break, retest, and that may coincide with the scenario that I've mentioned on the dollar index. So we'll have a look at that probably next week, or it may happen before. So I'll give you the indication as to what I'd like to do. Well, two things really. If that dollar index does take off, and we get something like break, hit the weekly pivot, back underneath here, retest the confluence area, then there's a trade on and take profits fairly clear. You want to take profit at that level. Then you've got the monthly pivot to contend with. But I think this is possible. And the structure is already there. You've already got the head and shoulders sitting there. So that could be interesting. Dollar CAD, I thought, would be the trade of the week if it's set up. And that may yet be the case. Consolidate underneath here as it is doing, that's fine. And then pop its head above, come back and retest. There's a confluence area of trade line, weekly pivot, daily pivot, perfect. If it gets above here and retests that confluence area, there's a long to be had here, and there's beautiful levels to take profit at. So keep your eye on that one. I think it's a doozy. And if it does set up, as I say, I think it'll be the trade of the week, dollar CAD long, but it's got a bit of work to do yet. Dollar yen, dollar Swissy are similar, but not as good. Pound Aussie we've spoken about. We're now out of the 4-hour trade. The daily trade could trigger here. Shame we're out of that 4-hour trade, but you know, they're the rules. CAD yen is what you wanted me to talk about, Crystal. So CAD yen has broken through that high of last week. Yes, last week so far, but hasn't yet taken this out, which is interesting. Let me take a look at the bigger picture. Pretty strong level, right? You can see it's been support through here, resistance through here, support through here, support again, big resistance recently, again, and now we've got to close above that level. Interesting. Okay, let's put some more lines on the chart, see if we can make any sense of it. You've got that one, or you may even have same thing. Well, it's not really the same thing, actually. I'd go with there, but you're at that resistance level, and it is a confluence area. So to go long here would be extremely tough for me. I just don't see that being an option. But what I do see is many, many signs that could get you interested. Where's my pen? I've got a pen, should have. There we go. I see why you're asking the question. A few things I see. There's one. And again, you know, that just creates more confluence. But because we are at that area, that confluence area, I've got to see one of two things happen. Now, number one, it's got to break out and come back. Number two, it's got to break out and come back underneath and then retest. So this one's long, this one's short. Hang on, I'll get rid of all that now. It's not doing it. Do it. There you go. And number three is we just bounce off this now straight away. And if that were to be the case, I'd have to see a lower high before I could trade it. But we're right at the pointy end of that wedge as well. You know, I think the most likely outcome here at the moment is back in here and a little bit more of consolidation. But it's a tough one to say either way, Crystal, at this moment for me. But I've got to wait for price to tell me. I can't speculate here. I can't say, okay, that's a strong breakout bar. It's a strong bar, but it's not a strong breakout, if you understand what I'm saying here. If it was a strong breakout, it'd be up here. Strong candle, absolutely. But I've got to see price get up to here and come back, or I've got to see price get up to here, then come back underneath, one of those two scenarios. Or as I say, bounce back in here, and it's got to give me a lower high before I could look to trade it short. Not a fan of trading at the moment at all. Ash is back. Couple more to go, mate, and then we'll come back and wrap it up. Okay, the only ones I've got left to go. Let me have my mouse back. There we go. Swissy yen, as you know, we got into Swissy yen, and wow, this is one of my rules, guys, and I just wasn't there this morning when it happened. Missed TP1 by a freckle, and as soon as I missed TP1 by a freckle, I've got to move my stops to entry, which I didn't do because I wasn't there, and I didn't get the chance afterwards. So that's in peril here. Didn't expect this break above the weekly pivot, but now it has. It looks very much like it'll take the stop on that, and I should have been at break even. I'm not. I don't know if you guys got into that because it was something I traded well before the show. There was an opportunity perhaps yesterday, and we spoke about Slingshot too, but we wanted to see a bigger retracement before getting. So I don't know if you guys are in that. Hopefully not. Well, at this stage, hopefully not. Whilst there's life, there's hope, of course, but no, it's not looking too flash. Now, I was keen to trade this short pound Swiss this morning, and the reason I was keen to trade it short is pretty much what you're seeing on your chart right now. And this is very similar to what I've just described on CAD yen, I suppose, where we are at a very, very strong level. Now, the populist theory, of course, is, and conventional wisdom would tell you that the more times we pound at a level, the more likely it is to break. And look, that's the case. I don't have an issue with that. But you can also see that there is another ascending triangle here. That doesn't mean it's going to break to the high side. People will tell you that it does mean that. And that's fine. If there's numbers to back that up, go with it. If there's not numbers to back that up, then, and my contention is always, it'll break out. Big deal. Where? I don't know. But it's the same applies. When I'm at a big, strong level like that, I've got to see it break and be retested before I can trade it long. Or I've got to see it break, price come back underneath it, give me a lower high, and then go in the opposite direction. So really, yes, we do have a structure here. I've got no problem with that. But I've got to see one of those two things happen exactly the same as I've just described on CAD yen. So am I ready to trade it right now? Depends. If I get one of those scenarios that I said, we've got the bounce. So all we need now is a lower high. And if we get that lower high, happy days, I can trade it short. But until then, there's no deal here for me. Love the candle. Candle's a very good pointer, but it's not a tradable bar for me. So I'd like to see it come down here a little bit further, come back to maybe that level, give me the lower high, then I can look to trade it short. And that is me for the week, guys. Everything that I'm looking at is now in your brain as well. So I won't be doing anything other than that, I don't think, unless something untoward happens with Mr. Powell and he turns the market around. So that's me, mate. I'm done.
Good stuff, mate. Yeah, I think I am too. I'll put it up.
Mic down, mate.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry.
Right.
I will put an update into
the Telegram group. Yeah, same,
group.
guys.
Yeah,
and that's the benefit, I think, of being in the Telegram group, isn't it? That we can actually update you on what we're thinking, and if we're in trades, we can manage trades, etc., etc. So get in there, see if you like it. You've got 27 days left, I think, of the free, and after that, we'll see how we go.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, I'm looking at the FTSE 100 as a short from 6,800 is my price point. So that's where I'm going to look to go short, and I'll post in the Telegram group if that transpires. If I'm in front of the screen, of course, you know, if my student might end up waking up, I don't know. Okay, so we'll wrap it up there.
We will.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up there.
First week of the year. Positive. You've had a nice week, and
yeah,
hopefully you guys in the room have done similar. A little bit mixed on my behalf, but still a few things that may come good. We shall see, and we'll be here next week, of course, doing exactly the same thing. We hope you can be with us as well.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, so have a good weekend, guys. Stay safe in the market. Have a good one, buddy. I'll see you next week.
You too, mate. Be good, and bye-bye for now.